Good evening, everybody in online land. This is Jess again, coming to you live with Speak Your Truth, another edition. Today I'm here with Melanie, and she is incredible. We used to work together on the same team back in Campbell, California. Got to know each other pretty well, and today we're all going to get to know Melanie a little bit better. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me.
It's an honor. Thank you so much. So let's start at the basics. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where were you born? Where do you live now? Things on that nature.
Sure. So my name is Melanie. I am 32, and I was born in San Jose, California, but I grew up in Milpitas. And I was there most of my life. I'd say I moved to like San Francisco for a while, and then around the Bay Area otherwise. But it wasn't until about a year and a half ago I moved to Las Vegas. I obtained a remote job, which is a work from home job, if you're not familiar with that term, or someone who's viewing is not familiar with that term. I know you are. Um, and so that allowed me to go ahead and move and still stay financially secure. And that was wonderful because I love Las Vegas. I mean, to be honest, I loved it more for its party scene back then, but it was also just it still is a very inspiring city just to be in if you're into art and all of that. Because I mean, you just go down the strip and you see the architecture, and that's not the kind of architecture you see in any other city, at least on the West Coast. And it's just, and you go to the downtown area of Las Vegas too. It's just beautiful, full of art, and that's why they call it the Arts District now. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, but yeah, I'm in Las Vegas now and I love it. And it's not for the party scene anymore for why I'm here. I actually just really like the community in the area. So, yeah.
And what is your current specific job title?
Oh, I'm a web development specialist. So just to kind of say that in layman's terms, what that means is I'm a front-end web developer. And front end is where you're working on the stuff that people actually see and interact with, as opposed to like the back end database. And then the reason I have a different title than that is because the title they gave me is also supposed to kind of also include the fact that I also jump on design duties here and there when they come up. So usually that only entails maybe like if a mock is missing kind of an interaction, like, oh, is this going to have an animation when they roll over it or something like that? The mocks don't usually have that we get from either the UX team or the design team. So like they usually know that we want something, so it's up to our team to kind of figure that out. Little things like that, but I don't go and do the mocks myself. So
That's really interesting. So what you do, it sounds like, encompasses user experience, user interaction, things of that nature, but you're doing the actual writing of the code or the structure of the site.
Yeah. So my primary duties is all coding. It's just sometimes here and there I do get to do like the UX stuff and a little bit of the design stuff, but those are more special opportunities as opposed to something I do on a day-to-day basis. So
That's super interesting all around.
thanks. Yeah, it's fun. I like my job a lot.
What inspired you to begin this trade?
To be quite honest, so it wasn't something I was actually seeking out. It was more that I was into graphic design, and then I heard about this opportunity through this friend who turned out to be an amazing referral to the company we used to work at. And I was like, oh, they pay so much better than what I'm making now. And, that sounds like a position that would be really cool to start in. And I would learn a lot of stuff. And so even though I hadn't been seeking to go into like computer science is what they call that industry, or this industry, it kind of just fell into my lap. And to be honest, I had actually been kind of avoiding it a little bit. Like I wanted to know code, but I didn't necessarily want to be in a position where I was called a developer, simply for the fact that my brother is a huge computer science engineer that worked at Amazon and Google, and he retired from Google at age 27. I was like, I don't want to be a copycat. I copycatted my brother all growing up because, he's my older brother. So I was like, oh, I can't do that. But kind of fell into my lap. And, living in the Silicon Valley, that's more likely to happen there than it would anywhere else. But it was still like a super lucky opportunity. And I'm so grateful for it because I realized how much I do like development. So, yeah.
And so you have been in the industry for a little while. It sounds like you have a lot of experience. How have you seen the trade changing as technology has evolved?
Oh, yeah. So it started out that development and web development in general was mostly just, some basic coding, basic vanilla JavaScript, which, yeah, is just basic JavaScript. Um, and then kind of as time went on, other things evolved out of that. So little specialties here and there. So if you look at job postings for web developers, a lot of times companies will have specific special skills they also want the developers to have, things like experience with CMS systems like WordPress, also e-commerce integration experience like Shopify or WooCommerce, or things like SEO knowledge for search engines. That's something I don't know as much as I'd like about, but I know some of the really high level stuff, which is important to know as a developer. And things like experience using metrics programs metrics gathering programs like Google Analytics. I wish I had more experience with that too, but again, I have a high level. I kind of know how to use the interface and some of the good demographics to look for. So yeah, it used to be very basically just coding, and now it's like so many things that companies are looking for to have their developer all encompass. So yeah, and I'm sure like in a few years, there'll be more added on to those specialties. So
That is super cool. That is so neat how it's evolved so quickly.
yeah,
And,
definitely. It's a good industry.
so I have noticed personally in the tech industry, it's changing rapidly, but there aren't as many women developers. There aren't as many women engineers, software. Have you had any specific challenges just as a person or as a woman in the industry?
Yes, definitely. And I I wish I had educated myself more about male dominated environments than I did before I entered. But again, I mean, I entered kind of on a happenstance. Even when I was taking my interview, I didn't expect to get hired, even though I really wanted the job. Um, and but yeah, it's important if you're a woman entering the industry to really educate yourself on a lot of that, as well as just in general workplace stuff like, setting boundaries and harassment and, you know, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely experienced stuff. I have gone on maternity leave, which is not, that's something that normally happens with women, but um, I don't know. It just feels a little different when you're on an all male team, I guess. Um, and I wouldn't say that that exactly is what happened with my maternity leave, but just maternity leave in general is one of those kind of woman things that happens in the industry, and it's just a little different. I've also experienced like harassment. I think all women will. That's not specific to the tech industry or anything, but it does get higher on male-dominated teams. Um, and I've also, at least what I interpreted was kind of being pushed out of a company before, and I do believe that was not related to my work at all. Um, and I don't want to venture to say that it was because I was a girl. I think the reason was way more complicated than that. But I am sure that being a woman played into it. I'm very sure of that. But I don't think that was the sole reason why.
So there's
Um,
definitely challenges. There's definitely, so there sounds like there
yeah,
definitely are challenges, you're absolutely correct. Some of those are not isolated to they're not isolated to the tech industry in general. Those are, you're absolutely correct. Those are general issues women deal with on the daily basis.
definitely. Yeah,
I understand your point though about the male dominated industries. It can be harder to get empathy or compassion or maybe just general understanding for your situation, and that can lead places.
Yeah, totally. One of the things that I've noticed, especially this year, about development teams, there's this whole stereotype around coding in general and developing that it's for like extra smart people and all this crap. And, that can attract a certain type of person, that can attract narcissists to the field, that can attract men with or people with big egos. Um, and that's not necessarily all it attracts. I'm just saying it can tend to make more individuals with those characteristics go that way than others. And then it scares away the people that have historically been told that they're not intelligent or not powerful or that they're not going to achieve much in life. So, like minorities and people of lower classes, and generally women as well. So, people get intimidated by things that they're told are for really smart people because they themselves don't feel like they're really smart, because that's what they've been told their whole lives. And I kind of forget where I was going with that, only that it is kind of a thing that can affect the culture of a development team in general and scare away people that are very qualified to be part of these teams and would probably love coding, but they're just so intimidated to jump into it.
I completely understand. I went to school for philosophy, and there's a thing that they call the ivory tower, and it's very intimidating. I talk to a lot of people about philosophy, for example, and they say, oh, that's for smart people, or no, that's too hard. And it really isn't. At the end of the day, philosophy is just asking fundamental questions about anything, just anything. That's all it is, just asking questions, really. So I get that intimidation where, you just get, I felt that way personally about the tech industry. I fell into it as well. And all of a sudden I was writing HTML one day on the team and taking classes and refreshing the screen and seeing what I typed in to Sublime show up on my screen. And I was so excited. So,
Aw, that's awesome.
yeah. And so, well, along those lines, if you were talking to someone like me that maybe was interested in web development, or if you're talking to someone in the audience, and you've already talked about educate yourself, we've discussed the challenges in male-dominated industries in general, and tech is one of those. Changing, but it still is. So, what kind of advice would you give about what do we do, what don't we do? Just kind of general.
Um, like if you're trying to get into the industry, oh yeah, okay. Um, I definitely would say you want to show future job, that you're applying to. You want to show them your passion by having some kind of external validation of your coding quality. So whether that's like a portfolio on GitHub of maybe side projects you're doing, it could even be like stupid side projects, like you make a website with like some functional apps and APIs that you're not really going to use, but at least it's on there and it shows that you know what you're doing. I mean, you don't want it to be a total mumbo jumbo, but it doesn't have to be for like a specific you know client or anything like that. It could just be for your own learning. And I guess, yeah, I mean, try to self-teach as much as possible and practice, because, if you do go out and get some kind of formal education for your class or yeah, to get training, which I learned so much better in a classroom environment than I ever do trying to learn on the internet, just because that's the way I am and
Okay.
that's what I'm used to. But it's important that once you get out of that class, or even while you're in it, that you're practicing it on your own too, because you're so quick to forget.
Oh yeah.
And so, yeah, and if that's something you really want to learn and be prepared for and be able to eventually do, for your work or as side projects, you definitely need to practice in order to get it.
I can't
Um,
remember how to commit to a repository, for example, right now. I know it starts with Git.
yeah, it's hard when you don't practice. It really is. I mean, seriously, I like when I moved from the Campbell place we were at to the remote job, I think there was just a few months in between where I wasn't working, and I too forgot a lot of Git commands that were super super basic, but I wasn't using them on a regular basis, and I had to look them up. So I was like, what am I doing? Forgot everything.
I understand. Um, is a degree necessary in this field, or is it an added bonus, do you feel?
I think it depends where you're applying. It really depends on where you're applying. But I'd say in general, especially in the Bay Area, which is where a lot of the opportunities are among other places, I'd say it's more of an added bonus. Yeah, I'd say probably, especially startups, they actually look even higher upon the people that self-teach and have a lot of work to show on the internet, and then can do their little coding challenges, which is what most places ask you to do as a developer.
Mhm.
That's more what they value. But I mean, places like where I work like a finance company, which is totally not the tech industry, but they have to hire techie people. They're going to look for that, that degree. We usually hire people who are like straight out of college that just got their degrees, but don't really have a lot of work online. Just because that's easy for them. They see the degree and they're like, oh, I know how to hire people with this. Let's hire them. So yeah, it depends where you're applying.
Definitely. And so how can we support you? How can we support you? Do you have any side projects, any websites, any you can speak on?
I right now my kind of passion project more is trying to up my Instagram marketing skills. So if anyone wants to follow me on there, I'd really love that. I have one for my art and career Instagram, which is Mel Artist Tangent, MELARTISTANGENT. And then the other one is a foodie Instagram. So I'm like a 12-year Yelp elite. So I kind of made an Instagram based on that concept. And that's called Yelp Black Belt. So that one I have a good amount of followers on, and I'm just really enjoying putting content on there. I mean, who doesn't love food, seriously? And in
I'm
Las
gonna
Vegas.
that
Yeah.
that's cool. I love food. I think I'm following you on both of your pages already, but I'm gonna go do some scrolling later.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, those are so fun.
So now we've come to the portion of the interview that I call the quick round. And that's where we go a little bit off topic, but the topic is still you, but we're having a little bit more fun with it. So first question, favorite guilty pleasure website?
Threadup.com. It's a website where you can buy clothes, but they're all secondhand. So, I mean, even during this pandemic or recession, which is both, I've been buying from there just because it makes me feel a little more normal, even though I'm not really going anywhere besides my house and grocery store in these clothes. So this is even from there. I mean, it's so affordable on there for the most part, and you can go to the outlet section. I just love thrift in general. So
Oh, you just changed my world.
yeah, no, that place is awesome. And they're in Arizona too, so not far from here. I get my clothes super quick.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Top 5 songs or artists musically.
I'd say Halsey, Grandson, Melanie Martinez, Brick and Mortar, and Mouse. And Melanie Martinez, it is actually because she has my name.
That's awesome. Imagine yourself in 5 years. Paint me a picture. Personal goals, professional goals. How has the world changed? Perhaps how has the industry changed?
Cool. So, I mean, personally, I think my goals are a little more broad. I just like to be more mentally and physically healthy than I am right now. Not to say that I'm not, but an up in that would be amazing. I'm sure everyone would hope that they'd be better than they are now in 5 years. So, and also just to have a stronger bond with my family and friends too, just because I've already strengthened my bond, I think, with them this year, but I'd love to strengthen it even more in 5 years. So professionally, I'd like to get back to doing a job role where I get to do a lot of duties at once, like I was at the startup that I worked at. I really love wearing lots of hats at once. Like I really love that, actually. I mean, that's why I have I do the Yelp reviews, and I also, do the art stuff, and I develop, and all of that stuff is really fun. And Also, when I describe it to other people, I've been comparing it to when you have a whole bunch of variety of food in front of you, science shows that you tend to eat more of that food. So if I have a whole bunch of different tasks to choose from that are all completely different from one another, I'm more productive than if I'm just sitting there doing the same thing and I get bored and kind of listless and like, I'm not moving as much of a fast pace than I usually am. And I love moving in fast pace. So yeah, it would be nice to be doing some kind of job role that allows me to use all of those skills in different ways. And how has the world changed at that time? I mean, hopefully this pandemic will be over. Yeah, because right now we're in that COVID-19 pandemic. But I'm sure a lot of activities will move over to virtual access, like they are now because of it. Also, I know a lot more people will be vegan. So if you're looking for stocks to invest in, I recommend vegan stocks. They've already gone up quite a bit. Well, not during the recession, but in general over the past few years. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, because, veganism helps save the environment by a lot more than even, gas emissions and stuff. So that's a big thing. Plus, yeah, it's good nutritional wise. And in 5 years, in terms of like the industry I'm in, web development and computer science and all that, I know things are going to evolve, but the only thing I can guess that's definitely going to get bigger is probably AI, which is artificial intelligence or machine learning. There's so many predictions on that, but in general, there's going to be a lot of growth on it. I mean, imagine if you can get a machine to learn and do some tasks that humans do and that are pretty complicated. I mean, they're going to take over a lot of jobs. I mean, we've got robots in Walmart, but that's just like the smallest step before everything else. So, I mean, we've got AI right now on e-commerce websites trying to figure out like what this customer will probably want to buy next. And so they'll start these suggestions and things like that. Even ThreadUp, the website I mentioned earlier, they're actually hiring a machine learning engineer right now for their website. So yeah, it's gonna get bigger.
Where it's going, for sure.
Yeah.
This one's kind of random, but your child's favorite toy right now?
I would say his Hot Wheels cars, because my husband just bought like this huge set of them, and so he's been taking them all around the house, just like stacking them up and stuff. We've been trying to cut down on screen time because we realized we were giving him too much since we're home with them all the time now. So we're like, okay, if we have to buy him a few new toys every other day so that he'll stop whining about the screen so much, might as well just do it.
I loved Hot Wheels. I had so many tracks. I would reconfigure them every day and build them, and they'd slope down off of books and then go up onto my bed. It was a whole thing.
Yeah, they're fun.
What song, at the end of all of my interviews, I have a song that I attach to the printed transcript, and it's available on Spotify. What song would you like included with your interview?
So I wasn't sure when you said available with Spotify, did you meant like, well, I
Really?
listened to it on Spotify. Does that count?
Okay. Yes, that counts.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you meant like you could download it for free and then embed it and it was not copyrighted and all that complicated stuff.
No, I'm
But
just hyperlinking.
okay, yeah, then there's a song called Bigger Than by Justin Jesso and Seeb.
Huh.
I don't know if that's how to pronounce his name, but
That's awesome. And what's the meaning behind it? Because we're asking to pick one song out of all the songs the entire world. Why?
yeah, so that song I especially like because they talk about wanting to live your life in a way that's bigger than the fears you have.
Ooh,
Yeah, so basically conquering all of the fears you have to become the best version of yourself. That's how I interpret it.
I think that's beautiful. That's needed right now.
Definitely. Totally.
And do you have any shout outs, any people or causes or products or anything in the world that you would like to have us support as well?
Um, hmm. I mean, I guess when I thought of shout outs, I was thinking more of like people I kind of wanted to thank for helping me along my journey. Is that all right?
That works for
Okay.
me. It's an open-ended question. It's a
Okay. So I guess what I thought of first was just the people that helped me get started in the industry. So first of all, like my first boss, Chris, which I think you were on the team for when he worked there, right?
yeah,
Yeah. So I appreciate him giving me a chance to work there because, I only had HTML and CSS in my experience when I started there. And, he was patient with me and helped me learn there. And also the person I sat next to there, Min, oh my God, he was just as patient with me. I was asking him repetitive questions all the time and some of the stupidest questions too. So like he was super, super nice given what I was putting him through. So yeah, I appreciate those people. So because it really matters when someone starts out in this industry and they're not feeling super comfortable in it, to be surrounded by supportive people that are patient with them and do try to help them out as much as possible, because yeah, it's it's tough out there in that industry. So having that environment and those people is essential. So I'm super thankful.
you were definitely one of those people for me, Melanie. I remember.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. I mean that. Developing all the crazy workflows we developed together, and having you being a part of the team and everything was just, I learned and grew so much because you were so supportive. So
Oh, thank you.
you're
Yeah,
welcome.
I appreciate that.
Well, awesome. Well, that's basically it. This was fantastic. I learned a lot about you. I learned a lot about the industry. There was things I really didn't know, and I feel this was definitely beneficial, and I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem. I have a couple questions for you if that's all right.
I love it. Yes, please.
I was wondering, are you still trying to self-teach some code at all, or are you focusing on other things like this blog instead?
Well, it's sort of a little bit of both. I started a blog on WordPress, and then WordPress is really good about advertising within the site. So one day they said, "Hey, this URL, this domain is available. Do you want it?" And I was like, "Wait, Shark Harbor Sunset is available?" And so I bought the domain, and now I've been building my website. It actually is premiering to the world on Monday, on April 20th, on my birthday. And
Ah, that's so awesome.
so I'm not doing actual HTML or CSS. I'm working with, module. Well, when I upgrade, I'll be working with modules, but I'm doing the modules within the pages and then doing hyperlinking. And I'll show you after we log off. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, WordPress is a CMS system, and that is something companies look for too. So,
Wouldn't that be weird if I, I could have a future in WordPressing per se?
no, literally, the job I went to at another startup right after that startup job that I was at for a year and a half, I got hired as a WordPress developer, and I barely ever had to jump in the PHP. I was just doing the drag and drop stuff and using all of the tools. So, yeah,
It's fun.
it's fun, but it can be so intimidating for some people because it's so many different tools. So it's kind of like they need someone that's familiar with it. So yeah.
That's cool. Well, thank you. I hadn't thought about that. Do you have any more questions?
um, yeah. I mean, what have you been doing to try to keep yourself busy during this whole quarantine thing?
I've been writing a lot. I've been publishing some of my poetry, some of my journaling. I've been reading a lot. Um, my friend Sydney Williams, she wrote a book that's really been inspiring me, and I'm part of a Sunday. I don't want to call it a book club because that would be downplaying it, but I'm part of this incredible group community online every Sunday for about an hour and a half, where she reads a chapter out of her book in sequence every Sunday. And then we interact, we talk, we share stories. She asks probing questions or kind of deep questions, and we discuss as a community. And that's been like church for me. That's really, it's the best way to start off my week, and I look forward to it. And this website is taking a lot of my time because I haven't bought the Dragon software yet, so I'm hand transcribing everything.
Oh,
So
that's hard.
that's taking a minute, but I'm loving it. I haven't had a hobby in a long time, and this isn't just a hobby, it's a passion.
Oh,
I got a logo, so I got a Teespring account, so I actually have merch, and I'm gonna have
Oh, that's so cool.
stickers coming on the 23rd. I'm just waiting for them to be delivered. So um, it's a thing. It's not a thing, but it's a thing, you know?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, you're just getting off the ground and it's exciting. That's cool.
I just started April 1st. So I'm still adding content, adding structure, changing my mind, finding what my pattern is, establishing a pattern, trying to dot all my I's and cross my T's, things like that. And I was going to wait to announce it in like June or something and have it absolutely perfect, but I can't wait.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, it's good. Yeah, I mean, it's a best birthday present to release it on your birthday. And if it's ready to go, why not? You know? I mean, tech companies, they release their products as the MVP version, which usually still has stuff missing or whatever, but they're testing it on users and getting them excited about the final thing. So I
Oh,
feel like that's what you're doing. So
cool. Cool.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. It's so neat to watch each other grow and start
Yeah,
the same team.
seriously. Seriously, it is.
All right. Well, this has been the end of the interview. Thank you, everybody, for watching another episode of Speak Your Truth. And this is Jess and Melanie. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Stay healthy. Be well.